Hey, welcome back to the Andromedoom Dev Logs, episode number 11. In this episode I'm going to show you all of the Bathymetroids, the alien invaders of the Asia-Pacific region. Let's switch over to the screen. I previously showed you the first three aliens, which are the crab, the octopus and the squid, based on the original Space Invaders, but I'll show you them again. So the first ones are the crabs. So now the loop that these guys take is they drop, they turn, they move forward, take two shots as you're about to see there, then they'll move forward again and then drop, and then turn, and the cycle starts again. Now if they collide with anything like the level bounce or a building, then they'll bounce off correctly. But other than that, these guys are pretty straightforward. I'll show you the landing animation when one of them gets to that level. And this guy looks like he's about the first to land. There you go, you see he's about to land now, and he pulls his pincers and legs up as he lands. Cool, now let's go look at the next one. Alright, these next guys are the octopus, or in other words, the first of the classic Space Invaders. These ones are a bit slower but a bit tougher, so they've got a bit of armor, which is the probability that a shot gets deflected, and they take a couple more hits. There we go. Okay, this guy was the first to land, and you'll see they'll put their landing gear up as they land. Alrighty, let's take a look at the next one, hopefully a bit more interesting this time. Alrighty, so alien number 3 is the squid, the third of the original Space Invaders. Now this guy doesn't damage the player or the buildings, but he does ink the screen, Mario Kart style. On top of that, there are smaller targets and faster moving. Now in contrast to the crab and the octopus, the squid also moves forward as he rotates. So he'll drop, but you'll notice that as he turned, he was still moving forward. So there's the landing animation. Well, we just got inked. But there's the landing animation. He pulls up his two cannons and the tentacles move up as well. Okay, let's move on to the next one. And now starts the OC. So our next encounter is with the shrimp. Now the shrimp do not spawn from the top of the level, they spawn from the outside and enter through and then exit once they reach the other side. So they don't actually land, but what they do is they seek out the player. So they'll just keep turning in random directions, but if their player is in their line of fire, then they'll just keep firing at him. There we go. There we go. And there's a bit of recoil noise, so that they don't always directly aim for the player, because when they come in large swarms, you'll get overwhelmed by alien fire, if that's the case. Once they hit the level, well, gotta fix that bug. Alright, let's take a look at alien number 5, and this one is the man-o-war, aka the blue bottle, the Portuguese man-o-war. Looks like a jellyfish. Apparently it's not a jellyfish, but I've designed it to resemble a submarine, but the way it behaves is actually a drone that seeks out a point that's not over a building, otherwise that would be unfair on the player. Okay, so as you saw there, it's like a daisy cutter bomb. As the alien lands and he's coming to the ground, the plunger appears as if it's going up, and when it goes up all the way, the man-o-war detonates. That's the idea. Cool. Yeah, you'll see that the player resets back to the spawn point when he dies, and then if I move again, it'll send precision to the camera, so the camera resets. So I haven't done the whole player management of lives yet. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So next guy is kind of an analog of the mystery UFO that sometimes appears at the top of a Space Invaders level. But I gave him the oceanic theme, and it looks like a stingray. And so what the stingray does, again another external spawning alien, moves towards more or less the center of the level, drops a bomb, and then exits. And that's it. There we go. As you can see, I got hit twice. There we go, and as you can see, because they're external spawning, they don't land. So they just do their damage and leave. Alright, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so our final standard alien is the toughest. It's the Goblin Shark. And he's got the same behavior as the Octopus and the Squid, although if you do hit him, he'll fire back. But other than that, he takes a lot more hits, has more armor, moves faster, and lands faster. That's basically it. I'll show you the landing animation for this guy because he does land. There we go. Just retracts the fins that look like boosters and arches his body up. That's it. Okay, so our final alien is Leviathan, which is the boss for the Asia Pacific region, and he'll be spawning in the Tokyo level. And so, as I mentioned before, he's based after Terraria's Eater of Worlds. So he's a multi-segmented worm, and if you hit the middle segment, well, first of all they strike back, but if you manage to break one, it'll split into another head. And I'll try and demonstrate that for you. There we go. As you can see, we've got now 2 segments to worry about. And adding extra heads adds extra homing missiles for the player. So the difficulty ramps up in that way. So ideally, you'd always try and hit the head. That way you only have one head to deal with and one segment. Cool. Now I got hit. And there you go. Now Leviathan doesn't land, he just levels out at a certain height and doesn't go beyond that. Doesn't drop beyond that. That's it. That's all the first batch of aliens. So I'm going to discuss how spawning works. Now for the Leviathan, there's a custom spawner. So, there's a script that handles the amount of segments, which will be dynamically set based on difficulty, the interval of spawning, but it's also responsible for communicating with the segments that have already spawned to tell them that you've got now a segment trailing behind you. So that's a special case. However, typically, what we have here is a spawning object, and here, what it has is an array, and it's an array of dictionaries. And each dictionary contains information about that particular wave. And so there are 2 keys in this dictionary. The first is the quantity, so the total number of aliens that will be spawning in this wave. And the second key, called weights, is also another dictionary. And what this does is it has keys, strings, which are names of the aliens to spawn, and here an integer weight. Now weight doesn't mean that it will precisely spawn this amount of aliens, but it will calculate the relative probability that that alien will spawn in this wave. So let's say our quantity is 10, I set the crab to 4, and the octopus and the squid to 2 each. What would that mean is that for every 8 aliens spawning, on average 4 of them will be crabs, 2 of them will be octopus, 2 of them will be squids. It's a weighted average. Crabs will spawn twice as often as the octopus and the squid. And so the way the waves are built is we get the spawn extents mesh, which is just a plane. I get the minimum and maximum x and y coordinates, and I use this plane to generate random vector 3s, random positions that the aliens can spawn. And then the wave builder will take that dictionary of weights, take the quantity, and generate wave packets, which are a string and a spawn coordinate. And so all the waves are in a list, and each wave is a queue. And so it enqueues these wave spawning packets, and it goes through them one by one. Over some interval, it will dequeue the next packet, spawn that alien at that coordinate. Now the alien string is passed to a dictionary on the game manager, which is just a list of all the aliens, and it's mapped to the packed scenes. That's how the string leads to the actual alien instance. Now the final thing is, on the game manager, the alien, I'll show you this here. Some of these aliens also have an external, a property called external, and it's just a boolean, on or off. Now if they are external, then they won't spawn on the spawn extents plane that I showed you. Instead, I have a node here that groups a bunch of external spawn points. And these are just spatial nodes. But importantly, the negative Z has to point in towards the level. Because remember, negative Z is forward, so this arrow is technically pointing to the backwards direction. Aliens that spawn internally, they're assigned a random direction when they first spawn, but aliens that spawn externally just take the transform of one of these external points at random. And that's how the whole system works. Okay, thank you for watching. In the next episode, I'll be showing you the 4 player ships that you can unlock in the Asia Pacific region. Thank you for watching.